out is going to be on your right. Yeah? So can we give it a try? In, out. Where are you going, madam? Let's do it again. If I say in, then we're here. If I say out, we'll go here. Okay? In, out. Simple. Okay? The one that can withstand the test of time wins. Okay? In, where are you going? You, my brother, you can go home to Tanzania. Go home. Say hi to them. Okay? We're in, eh? We're out. In, out. In, out. 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 In, out. In, out. In, out. Where? Lead in red. Oh, is it coral pink? I don't know what that is. No, now we're going to make it faster, okay? Are we in or out? We're out. So in, out. Okay, now I want it to be, if we do this, like, okay? So this is out. Okay, let's go in, out, in. Where are you going? In, out, out, in. Hey, you guys, I don't have, it's just one of you, in, out, out. I'm also confused. So you guys can now choose the win. Projecting the slides, please. Yes, it's ready, doctor.
Okay. Molweni, good afternoon. Igama lam nguNaledi. My name is Naledi. It means a star. Mbude Meana. I am the Deputy Director General of Education in South Africa. Ndihamba kunye noSiwa Phiwe Sibeko, who works at an organization called Fundawande. She will continue what she does. I am a language and education specialist, and I am responsible for the language transformation in South Africa, in the whole country, with our 25,000 schools. I've been doing this work for the past 25 years. This is my 26th year as a language in education specialist. The title of our presentation, igama lengxoxo mpikiswano yethu namhlanje lithi Language, the elephant in the African classrooms. Ulwimi, ingxaki enkulu engathethwayo kumagumbi okufundela eAfrika. I am going to present on the mother tongue-based bilingual education program of South Africa, its implementation, and the fact that it is a follow-up, a sequel of pilots that we have done in the country for a number of years. And finally, in 2024, Minister Motshekga, who was the then Minister of Education, announced the rollout that happened in 2025. We have a new minister, Minister Siviwe Gwagube, who was taken over from Minister Motshekga in this new administration, and she is continuing with implementing the program called Mother Tongue-Based Bilingual Education. Key to what we are going to be outlining, intshayelelo, ingxaki yokungalingani kolwimi, ukufikelela ekuqondeni, ukufikelela kwindlela zokwazi. I-program yethu igxininisa ki-mathematics and science as the two subjects that we started with in grade 4, extending mother tongue beyond grade 3. South Africa always had mother tongue education from grades R to grades 3. Ngoku we extend, so it's delayed exit with a multilingual program. We'll talk about the evidence, the pilot that we did in the Eastern Cape in 2012, and the way forward. I'll hand over to Siwa to do the party Fundawande.
Enkosi kakhulu Dr. Mbute. Ndibulise endlini ndibulise nakwabantu abasibukele ku YouTube and Zoom. NdinguSiwa Phiwe Sibeko wase South Africa, ndisebenza nombutho ekuthiwa nguFundawande. Lo mbutho ke ngumbutho ongajonganga nzuzo kurhulumente ojolise ekuphuculeni izakhono zokufunda kunye nokubala kubafundi abakwibanga U-R, which is the reception grade, ukuya kwibanga 3, grade 3 eMzantsi Afrika. Lo mbutho usebenza ngokuqeqesha otishala ukuze bakwazi ukufundisa abantwana, ukufunda baqonde kunye nokubala ngokuzithemba, counting with confidence as well as reading for meaning. So we train teachers. Ukwenza nokuhambisa izixhobo zokufunda nezokufundisa. We also distribute learning and teaching support material ezikumgangatho ophezulu nezenziwe ngeelwimi zabantwana ukuze bafunde ngolwimi abalwazi kakuhle. So these materials are in the languages that the children understand. We also give assistance to teachers by doing coaching. And then we also monitor, which is ukuvavanya nokuqinisekisa, monitoring and evaluation kwenkqubo, kuqinisekiswa ukuba izixhobo nendlela yokusebenza ziyatshintsha ngokwenjongo kwaye zisebenzela abafundi. That's what technology does.
We can't hear.
Ilayitile. was working earlier. Thank you. So where are we pointing? Okay. Okay. No problem. All right. The main purpose of Fundawande, I've been asked to do this in English because there's a glitch in translation, and the purpose of being here is to be heard. Fundawande works in 3 provinces in South Africa: the Eastern Cape, where we provide coaches to the class and do teacher training. In Limpopo, where we use teacher assistants to assist teachers in teaching children how to read for meaning and understanding. And we have the Western Cape. Proud to say that the whole province has adopted the Fundawande intervention, and all the schools in the Western Cape are using Fundawande, and they were working with subject advisors in a form of a cascade model to make sure that when Fundawande leaves the intervention, the government has adopted that we don't stay there forever. All this work that we are doing is done in collaboration with the Department of Education. We work with the provincial offices in all the provinces that I have mentioned. I will hand over to Dr. Mbude to give us the introduction.
All right, I'll use mine. 77% of learners in our system in South Africa use their home language as a language of teaching, learning, and assessment from grades R to grades 3. But when we look at their performance beyond grade 3, with the transition from the foundation phase to the intermediate phase, which is grade 3 to 4, we see that there's a 32% difference in performance, where learners who continue to use their language in school, which happen to be English and Afrikaans learners, do better than those learners who drop their language in grade 3 and transition to English. Now, we call this presentation language the elephant in the African classrooms, because this problem is not just specific to South Africa. It is just generic throughout the African continent, because we worry about teaching learners English or French before they learn. So we are doing what we call a double jeopardy, where you first have to learn the language and then learn science. You first have to learn English, then mathematics, which is a barrier to learning. And this is what we mean when we speak about the language, the elephant in the classroom. And to see why we just usher you to the video that we will show you about an MTBBE experience we did 25 years ago. Can you play the video?
Okay. Can you please press play for us? So there's supposed to be a video on this slide. Are you able to?
Apologies.
While we are waiting, let's see if, oh, they won't be able to see it, that's the thing.
Yeah, because it's playing on our laptop, but it's not playing there.
So what do we need to do?
In what?
Yes.
You need to go back. Good.
In what way are animals useful to people? Mascole? Dog. In what way are animals useful to people?
Dog help us to thieves. Cow to get milk. We get French in pig.
Yes, we get ham, which is made of bacon, pig meat.
Amanzi.
The molecules, zikhululekile. Good. Ophuma ndoni ke ngoku? Ophuma ndoni?
I don't know.
Tell us, where do we get water? Where do we get water? Yes? Yeah, imagine. What do you call imagine in English now? Yes? Where do we get? Let us change. Let us try to speak English, please. Where do we get water? Repeat the same thing. Yes? Yes? All right. Yes, Lord.
Acacise ukuthi kwenzeke ntoni?
Hayi.
Phayana besenza ntoni? Ufuna ubhale. Bhala.
Then air bubbles came out. Why there were air bubbles? Why does that show? Swimming. Show swimming.
We speak about learner-centered education in South Africa, for example, and yet we insist on teaching children in a language they don't understand. If it's learner-centered, you'd expect that the language of the child is the point of departure. Instead, it's the language, not even of the teacher, because most of the teachers are not even first language speakers of English. It's a foreign language.
In black and white, it is written in Constitution that all the languages are equal. That is written. But practically, it's not been done like that.
It's the way that our mindset has been set up. That everything that is superior and everything that is pure must be done in English. That is a concept that our parents have.
We want to speak English because we want white people to understand us. But I think it should be a two-way. They should also understand us. If we can speak their English, they must also learn to speak our Xhosa.
Molweni bafundi.
Molo teacher.
Salani phansi. Namhlanje ndizoniwazisa ukutitshala Mbude. Namhlanje sizawukwenza umfuniselo i-experiment yenzulwazi ngesixhosa kuni lulwimi lesithathu. Uninzi lwabafundi kwelizwekazi lase-Afrika lufunda lubhale imiviwo ngolwimi lwesithathu oluba singesi okanye isifrentshi. Tishalakazi bakuwe ke.
Enkosi tshela. Ilight gas yayo ibeke ice ngaphezulu sizawucada i-ice. Sizawuthini? Sizawucada i-ice. Sizawuthini? Sizawuthini? Sizawucada i-ice ngoku. Sizawuthini? Yo. Leo. Sizawuthini? Sizawucada i-ice. Sizawucada.
Ukugada is to fry.
It was quite unfair because I would like try really hard to understand the question, and then when I understood it, I couldn't answer it. It just felt like I was stupid when I knew all the correct things. Just couldn't say it.
If the teacher asked me a question in Xhosa, I would take about 5 minutes to understand the question, and by then there would be another question.
It would be so hard to write our exams in Xhosa, and I would probably like leave the country and go to another country where you can write yours in the same language.
If I had to write my exams in another language that I didn't understand, I might be able to get a few marks, but I wouldn't be able to get enough to pass.
I couldn't understand the question, let alone answer it, because I'm not very good at Xhosa. If I had to write exams, I wouldn't bother going to school.
The textbooks are only in English and Afrikaans, which forces a child who's doing Xhosa to learn that before he even understand the content, what is being taught there, he should first try to understand what is said. So the communication first before.
Now we are going to stop it, having to go back to the presentation. I must say that most people, the comments from most people at that time, when I did that documentary, that was 25 years ago, by the way. Most people were concerned that these children were being exposed to humiliation when they had to answer my science lesson in isiXhosa. And I was saying, it's really what African children go through each and every day of their lives. It's the humiliation of being labeled as lazy, or that you do not do your work. And this is why we have so many dropouts, as we said earlier on. The intention was not to humiliate the English-speaking kids. It was just an experiment to show that when tables are turned, they will exactly be at the same position. So the labeling of what education is in Africa is based, you can press down, is based on the graph that you see on the far right. On the far right, as you are looking at that graph, you can see that this is the performance of children who are English and Afrikaans speaking in grade 6. You see that their percentage goes right up. They are performing quite high. And in South Africa, we have 13,678,000 learners in total. And of those 13 million, 11 million are African language learners. But the education system is designed around the 2 million, 1.5 million English home language speakers, and 1.7 million, which is Afrikaans mainly. So if you have education that is around the two minority groups, you can imagine what happens to the 11 million children. So with mother tongue-based bilingual education, we want to reverse what we see with that graph, because the graph below shows you that those children who are not having their home language as a language of learning and teaching, they perform poorly in mathematics and science and language as well. The next slide just shows us that key to what we learn, the centrality of language can never be taken away, because this is what we use to communicate anything in education. And as Wolf Eckhardt always says, not everything in education is about language, but nothing in education is without language. You simply can't learn without language. Understanding, making meaning, the ability to converse and ask questions, and also the ability to discuss things.
So, with what Dr. Mbute has said now, for us to get the ways of knowing and to get to understanding, the language of the school is usually different to the language of the child. And what this does, then, it limits the children on getting to understanding what is being said. So the red represent when the language is in English or a foreign language. So there's a learner, and then they are taught in English. They try by all means to understand. And what happens in their minds is that their mind is now demagar. Like everything, they're getting confused. And what ultimately that does is to bar them from accessing knowledge and understanding. Versus when there is a learner and they are taught in the language that they think in and they understand, or their home language, they immediately get what you say to them and they understand, and immediately they get to understanding and they can access knowledge. So this is what you can see from the video that Dr. Mbute did years ago, when the children are saying, by the time I understand the question, it's 5 minutes later, but I still can't answer it. By the time I understand the question, the teacher has already asked another question. So do you see what barrier the other language does in their understanding and getting to access the knowledge?
In the Department of Education where I work, we have multi-sets of data. We have data sets that we mine our data from. Now those sets, because our job mainly, and as a senior official of government, my role as a transformation specialist is to find and analyze what that data means for us to begin to shift the needle for all children in the system. Now, if you have data that shows that graphically, this is a mathematical performance representation by race, you see that black learners from a period of 2021, 2022, and 2023, that they are always on the left-hand side of the performance graph. Because after grade 3, they switch to English. So-called colored learners who have access to their home language, which in most instances is Afrikaans, and to a lesser extent English, they do better than the black African language learners. You have Indian kids in South Africa whose home language in the main is English, with the various mother tongues, that because they are a group that has assimilated to English, they speak the home language as English mainly. And then you have the white group in the country who speak mainly English and Afrikaans. Now this is the representation not only across mathematics, but it's the same thing with science and all other subjects. Now it does not mean that because you speak English you would know what mathematical titrations or scientific titrations are. But your problem is going to be facing the content and not the language of learning. And that is the difference. That you all know that with maths and science, you still have to learn the register, the language of the subject. Now for African language learners, you start with learning the language to communicate, and then you learn the content. Which is why we have extra classes that are a feature, a permanent feature of black education, because we try to close those gaps. Because the amount of time it takes to learn a language, then to learn in a language, you are doing two things at the same time. Now, this is what we wanted to show you, that it is not working for the majority of children. Now, in 2025, in the State of the Nation address, our President Cyril Ramaphosa, announced the rollout of mother tongue-based bilingual education for South Africa as a country. And we started with the two subjects, as I have indicated earlier on. Now, very key and important, you can move to the next slide, is the definition of what mother tongue-based bilingual education is. And just summarized in the slide is that its central concern is providing quality education to African language children through the best suited medium in order for them to have epistemological access to the curriculum while they are learning English at the same time. So the language of the learner is used mainly as a language of learning and teaching and assessment. The change now in South Africa is that we no longer speak about LOLT, which was the language of learning and teaching. We speak about LOLTAS. There's an A at the end which extends to assessment from grade 4. So for the first time in 2025, South Africa had bilingual exams for this grade 4 group, for mathematics and for science as well. Now the model that is used from grade 4 is 80% mother tongue and 20% in English. That's a model for bilingualism that extends 100% from grade 3 as they transition to grade 4. Then it becomes an 80-20, a 70-30 for grade 5, a 60-40 for grade 6, and a 50-50 for grade 7. We want to ensure an incremental uptake and understanding of the subject. We are competing with you, with the two of you. Sorry. So this is the model that we are using, as I have explained. People want to ask, part of the questions and concerns that we get from the public is how this model is being implemented, because people are saying, why don't we go for 50-50 in grade 4? We are not going for 50-50 in grade 4 because we know that it takes a period of about 12 years to develop a child's first language. We don't want the competition because we know that the bilingualism with English is a competitive one. This is a hegemonious relationship. We want to allow the child to grow in the mother tongue and the child to transmathematize in the mother tongue before competing and moving straight to English, because that will make them to default into the English mainly position. And that is why we incrementally increase that percentage to about 50-50 when they get ultimately to grade 7, allowing the mother tongue to grow the register both in mathematics and in science. We will take other subjects as we move along. Now, very key to what we did with the MTBBE implementation, I quickly want to move. You can move to the next slide. These were the positive results that came from the pilot in Ofivaba. When we piloted in the Eastern Cape in 2012, there were 3 main things that we did. One was teacher training, ensuring that we train the educators who were supposed to use the multilingual pedagogies to teach mathematics and science. The second one was standardization and ensuring material learner-teacher support materials were available for the teacher and for learners. Number 3, we secured the post-provisioning norms, which was the human resourcing of the pilot schools. We ensured that those teachers will remain as a return on investment for a minimum period of 5 to 10 years. So we went to change the model of keeping those educators in those schools. And that is why now we see a dividend with the Eastern Cape province doing very well in what we call throughput in education. They not only did well in mathematics and science. We can move, Esiwa, as you can see. The question paper at the end of that pilot year, we had medium order questions, which formed 33%, higher order questions, which formed the biggest portion, and also the yellow parts. We can go to the high to medium order. For the maths performance, you see that although the Eastern Cape is a very rural province, and it was deliberate to go to a rural area because whatever you can manage in a rural area, it should be easier for you because the constraints in rural areas are what you see. The blue is the performance of the learners in their mathematics, and on the other side you see their performance in natural sciences and technology with the biggest gains. These learners, we still keep track of them, and most of them have completed science and are scientists. I think the 6 of them that we are keeping contact with them are doctors now. This myth that if you learn in your language, you won't know mathematics is what this myth has dispelled, because most of them are in different professions. But very important are the lessons about what we've learned that Usiwa is going to latch on, is the fact that not only was their language strengthened, they spoke beautiful English, because the mother tongue is the shortcut to English. So, good performance in maths, as you saw their performance in science, the same thing with their performance in their home language. Above all, the cherry on top for us was how well they did in English, even more than those learners who had abstractive or subtractive bilingualism. Siwa?
Thank you. So, the results that we have seen with MTBBE is that teachers are not teaching in English and learners are not learning in English, but they are assessed in English. You'd remember understanding knowledge and being able to apply that knowledge. And we also realize that in maths, it's very important to trans-language, meaning that you teach in one language, you teach in one language and you move in between the 2 languages, and then you get assessed in English so that they can do global competition as well. Secondly, we have realized that bilingual peer education works as well in mathematics. So in places where there are no resources, enough resources, peer education is what we've used on the management school team. Also, we've realized that it takes 6 years minimum for MTBBE to be working, meaning that it will take 6 years for us to be able to make sure that it works, and for the student, it works for the learners as well as SMT, maths and science. We also realize that there's an increase in chances of children being able to participate and pass mathematics and science, more especially girls. It has been realized that they do very well on the subject maths and science when they're learning freely. And the last thing is, we have realized that, I'll go back a little bit. So, we have pillars that we'd use on MTBE, which is your status planning, corpus planning, acquisition, and prestige planning. Very important, because we need to put our languages on pedestal if we want them to be taken seriously. And then we have used policy planning as well. And those are the 5 things we have learned from MTBE, and they're the results that are important.
Very key to our way forward as we land. Usiwa has just mentioned the 4 pillars of language policy implementation that all linguists know. We continue to do status planning because having a policy allocated, a language allocated an official status is one thing. You've dealt with the status of that particular language. But according to the resources that are required to develop that language, to be a language that has what we call language vitality, that you can use it in any domain, high status function domains as well, is what South Africa has been struggling with. So the gap between policy and practice has always been an issue for us. So we are moving the whole system from a pilot to scaling up, because we know that status planning requires government effort to continue to do the work. Secondly, it's acquisition planning. Acquisition planning's importance in methodologies, bilingual and multilingual methodologies that are aligned to Africa, not only global South and global North competitions. It's important that Africa develop its own acquisition strategies to ensure that how languages are acquired, and this is the problem with literacy. We've discovered that literacy packages in Africa are all borrowed from the UK and the US and many other developed countries that are not necessarily aligned to the structure and the formation and the orthography of African languages. We are moving away with a program called Mother Tongue-Based Reading Literacy Strategy. That strategy ensures that we attend to the differences and not gloss over to think that whatever works for English must work for African languages. The third issue is teacher development with prestige planning. When we engage our parents with prestige planning, we are never going to have academics who admit, or parents who admit that African languages are equally important. African languages are always used to get to English, as if that's the destination, that's the goal. So we continue, therefore, with prestige planning, particularly amongst our educators, our officials, our parents, because it is officials and academics who are parents who come back to us and say, where are these children going to learn, to learn later on in life? Fortunately, in South Africa, we have that one language that was developed using state resources, Afrikaans. We have an example of children who learn in Afrikaans who still speak English. They go through university in Afrikaans but still speak better English than black African learners who have been removed their languages to get to English. So fortunately in South Africa we have that instance. And lastly, it's ensuring that all the corpus planning activities happen. We line up the corpus planning. The development of African languages is quite important in terms of standardization and ensuring that we use technological affordances to speed up that development. The body of the language is important. And now that we've started with mathematics and science, we see how far we are. And right now, the whole battle is deciding which terminology is actually specific to the particular concept that we're trying to get across. Assessment is also our biggest part. We also realize that assessment here too is something important that we must also do. Siwa? In closing?
In closing, the MTBBE program in South Africa and all of us who are in this room and online, we are all busy trying to make sure that there is a way intentionally for all the African children to learn, understand, and participate in society in the languages that they understand, and it all starts with education. You can conclude, Dr. Mbute.
Thank you. What are we saying to this conference? We appreciate the opportunity for this conference to see that it's important for us to talk about small efforts that will be big roadmaps for Africa. We think that Africans should be learning from each other. We think that it's important that as we get and examine the results from the work that we are doing, we can also form these partnerships, because making sure that African children remain in school, because schooling is meaningful to them. They then must use languages that create meaning for them while they are learning and they are acquiring the other languages as well. We are not advocating for an English or African languages, or it's not an either or. It's their language plus, because that's what multilingualism should be. So the Department of Basic Education, therefore, in its implementation of the mother tongue-based bilingual education, extends its hand in the journey that we've started, and we are hoping that we do not go the route that Nigeria has just gone, to reject mother tongue education for the majority of children because English works. We want to see African countries understanding that African languages deserve a space on the table, because language sits at the center of what we call epistemological access. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Yes. We still have 5 more minutes, and your presentation was very engaging. Anyone that has questions? Yes. 2. people.
Okay, thank you very much. This was a great presentation, and we must commend you for the great work. We could see the amount of effort that has been put into bringing this to our benefit. First, I would like to know what Ufunda Owandi. It sounds so euphonic to me, and I would like to know what that means first. But now to my main comment. I think that linguists over decades now have done their part in terms of, drumming into the ears of everybody that when you give learners education in their mother tongue, it goes much better than it does if you give them education in another language. That has been well done, and everywhere. I think this narrative is saturating all of us, and we are happy about it. The other thing which I think we should be looking at is how do we get, the policymakers, in this case mostly the political class, who also are the stewards of our resources, who can, make available, who can agree with what we are saying and make available the necessary resources and give their support so that some of the things we are saying can really work. Otherwise, we can circulate this narrative for the rest of our lives. It's a narrative that we will all agree with, but we will never see the results that it's supposed to bring to us in practical terms. Now, one way we can do this, in my view, is that we need to redefine what we call linguistic human rights. In fact, at an ordinary level, what somebody who is not initiated into the discipline of language policy and the likes know is that when you talk about linguistic human rights, it doesn't go beyond what we call the expressive and the instrumental aspects, right? So just like fundamental human rights, when John Locke, right, first propounded them, it was about having the right to life and some other basic things that, we were savaged and took all of those things for granted. But at this age, when people talk about rights, we no longer talk about fundamental human rights. We talk about things that will add quality to our lives. So in the area of linguistic human rights, for us to actually be able to address the language problems that we have in education, we need to redefine, linguistic human rights so that they move away from the fundamental definition of it that we know, which is, something that is part of our natural rights, to now reorient, especially the political class and the other stakeholders who hold sway in this matter, to understand it purely from the educational linguistic human right point of view. That, it should be the right of every child. It should be the right of every child to receive the basic education in the mother tongue, in addition to an official or a dominant language. If we review this definition, and linguistic human rights are no longer just about, having rights with respect to expressive and instrumental aspects of linguistic human rights, I think that we will be moving a step towards, realizing improvement in the use of mother tongue in delivering education. Mostly politicians will say that, okay, we don't have the resources, looking at the multilingual nature of our societies. But we have the example of Papua New Guinea, which is a very small country. Where did they get the resources to do that? To have in the school system over 470 languages, all being used as curricular languages. How did they do that? Where did they get the resources? Where did they get the expertise to do that? So I think these are some of the engagements we should begin to have. Redefine what linguistic human rights are. Otherwise, on the surface of it, nearly everywhere, what is being done, the climate would say that, okay, it's taking care of linguistic human rights because nobody's really actually being discriminated, on the basis of their mother tongue. But we need to redefine it and let the concept be that when you do not allow people or you don't provide for people to receive education in their mother tongue, that amounts to really, a breach of their linguistic human rights. Thank you.
Well, Dr. Abraham, you've eaten time for everyone. Now, I will let Siwapiwe just tell us what Funda Wena or Wane is, and maybe respond a bit to it shortly, because we have another presentation coming up.
Thank you.
Yes.
I'll let you know what Funda Wande does, and I'll
Yes.
give to Dr. Mbute to comment on that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. Funda Wande is an isiXhosa term. Learn and expand, literally. That's what it means. So it's reading for meaning. So when you read and understand, you're able to participate you participate globally because you've been equipped with resources to be able to participate equally. So you learn and expand, learn and go wherever you can be. The world is your oyster. That's
Thank you.
basically what you're saying.
Okay, let's briefly hear from Dr. Naledi.
Yes, South Africa's sovereignty is based on 6 principles, and one of them is language. The definition is exactly what you were saying about it being a human right. The problem with us is not a definition. The problem with us is what is called status maintenance syndrome, where officials of government, academics, everyone who has made it in English thinks that it must be the same for everybody else. And that creates for us the chasm, the tension between policy and practice. It's a constitutional right. It's one of our rights constitutionally, that each child has a right to education in their mother tongue. It has been like that for the past 31 years. So the definition for us has not really been the problem. It's the actual implementation, because those who have been given the responsibility to put the policy into practice have not done it. It's always something. Children won't have enough English to get to higher education. It's always something. They kick the can down the road, and it's been like that forever. So I appreciate your points about the redefinition, maybe for certain countries, but with us, it's exactly like that.
Okay, thank you. We'll give very short time for any questions, any opinions from online, in case they're there. Are there any questions to the live stream? I'm asking our live streaming guys if there are any questions from the online community. Dr. Naledi, there's so many questions. Yes. There isn't? Okay. I will have to let you go, and I'm sorry to the people that had questions. Our time is really limited, and we'll have to adhere to it. But Dr. Naledi is here. Siwapiwa, we still have her. She will be here tomorrow, so please. Thank you so very much. That was very, very engaging. Now, I'm calling a very impatient lady here. I want to now, okay. So apologies for, in your program, you must have seen that we have another lady speaker, but she wasn't able to make it because of reasons beyond her and our responsibilities. And now I want to call forward Miriam Uwingabie. You will correct me if I am wrong. Please clap for her. Clap for her. She's a very important person. She's going to be our MC tomorrow, but Miriam is also the content and technical manager at Bolingo Consult and project lead of Kingura.com. She leads the development of digital learning courses in Kinyarwanda and African languages, focusing on STEM, financial literacy, and technology. Karibu sana.
Asante. I try. Yes, so thank you so much. It's an honor to be here in front of professors, doctors, and experts in different fields, especially with the interest in language, probably language in education, language in African, any sector in African-related sectors. So like the MC just mentioned, my name is Miriam. I work with Bolingo Consult as the technical manager and also the project lead of Tingra.com. So today I'm here to speak about something that is very, very close to my heart, and that should also be close to the heart of every African or somebody else who cares about African education. Yeah, so I'm not going to take really long because I know you're tired and you want to go home. But what I want to tell you is that I'm bringing a solution. We are bringing a solution to all the problems that you guys mentioned that is, you know, facing African education currently. So you've heard about me already, so let me get here. So what is the problem do we have in Africa in regards to our native languages? So first of all, we have few textbooks that are in our native languages, say Chi, say Swahili, Kinyarwanda, where I come from. It goes to also exercise digital content in local languages. We don't have enough. So most educational materials are in English, French, or Portuguese. And then we also have that learners struggle to grasp our concepts and relate learning to daily life. Many believe that the bigger English you speak, the smarter you are and successful you will be. We talked about it in the panel discussion, and also Dr. Haladi, if I'm right, she also mentioned about it. Yes, however, if you look at the statistics from the UNESCO and GEM reports, we have only 20% of resources in native language, and we have 80% of resources in colonial languages, which is actually a problem because Africans are not really good at colonial languages. We speak our own native languages, but we don't have resources. So that means that education is going to be a problem. There is a quote that says that many learners face a double barrier: lack of resources in African languages, and also belief that fluency in English or French equals intelligence and success. This limits comprehension, confidence, and engagement. Of course, that is obvious, because if you can't speak your own language or even understand it, it will be so hard for you to understand something that is being taught in that particular language. But if they teach in the language that you understand, then it makes it even easier. So why African languages matter? Learning in native language improves comprehension, orientation, engagement, and confidence without relying on foreign language validation. So if you look at this picture, you will see that on side of native language instruction, students are going to have a deeper understanding, and the literacy is going to be increased by 30% according to research. And also, it's going to reduce dropouts. Because honestly, if you look at how students struggle, I've been a teacher. I know how students really struggle when they are learning in a language that they don't understand. So they're not really interested. Like, it's even so hard for them to even understand the content. Yeah. And also, if you look at on the other side of colonial instruction, it is totally opposite. There's going to be negative 30% of comprehension, frustration, and of course, language is always going to be a problem. It's going to cause, you know, it's going to hinder learning. So if we look at the history, starting from 1880s to 1990s, missionaries and colonial schools, that is when they were established in Africa. And then between mid to 1990s, that is when curriculum standardized and local languages were used only in early grades, only in Afrikaans. And then between 1960, to even now, European languages remain official languages. If you look at Ghana schools, we are all using English. I graduated from Ghana, so I know that in Ghana we use English in schools. It's everywhere. Probably South Africa is not part. They are, you know, working on it. But even in Rwanda, many African countries, they all rely on English as a language they use in schools. So if you look at the way countries globally try to integrate their native languages into education, you see a very huge difference. Because if you look at Finland, Japan, and South Korea, so for example, if you look at this map, Finland has 99% of literacy, simply because they use their native language. And if you look at Japan, they have 99% literacy as well. And Japan has 99% or so of literacy, which means that if you let people learn in their native languages, now they actually understand the content more. Even it's going to actually affect the literacy of the entire continent, of the entire country as a whole. So what the challenges, we've talked about it since morning. So we have a language barrier in classrooms because I believe that even African teachers, majority of them are also struggling with English. So if you can't really understand English as a course instructor, how about the students? So it means that you can't really be able to even give them the knowledge of what you actually want them to learn. So we have few resources, and people can't also relate to examples being used in textbooks. I'll give you an example. So if I want to teach an African child about savings, for example, if I use, I don't know if you have it here in Ghana, but in Rwanda we have this particular system where people in the community, they join and then start saving together, and then the funds will be rotating among the members of, do you have it here? Exactly. So if I use that to explain for somebody, it will be easier for her or him than using something that is really out of the place, right? So that is how, if we use native language education, it will make it easier for them to understand and also use the local examples that are used to. Yes, according to World Bank's 2024's Loud and Clear report, approximately 85% of students in sub-Saharan Africa are forced to learn in language they do not speak at home. That's what Dr. Halad was talking about. Yes, and also UNESCO also, reported that while 31 out of 55 African nations have adopted multilingual education policies, only 15% have successfully scaled mother tongue instruction into upper primary grades. So it means that the remaining 85%, they are still relying on English, which is also a problem. So that is where Tingura.com comes in. So what exactly is Tingura.com? So Tingura is an e-learning platform that is currently teaching people, students, Africans, anything, mathematics, chemistry, biology, technology, computer science, in African languages. That is basically what it is. So this is how the platform looks like. So we have different categories. We have technology, we have STEM, we have history and culture. We have different concentrations. But as we expand, we'll add even more contents. So what happens is that we want to build a platform where people can learn in their native languages. And currently we started from Kinyarwanda, and we have about 50 courses on the platform, and a lot of students are really, really interested, and we actually have current students learning on the platform. So what happens, you take a course online, and once you complete it, you get a certificate, and our certificates are in English and Kinyarwanda, or even any other language. Like, we give you a certificate that is in Kinyarwanda and your native language. So you can learn in your native language, but also use a certificate anywhere you want, because it will still has an English part of it. Yes, so how do we do it? So when we started the project, we realized that it is not really possible to, like, let's say, for example, if I'm in Rwanda, it is really hard for me to, almost impossible to prepare courses in Tree if I don't collaborate with native Tree speakers from Ghana. So that is why we basically started in Rwanda. So currently we work with Rwandese who can properly speak Nyarwanda and also are good with the content. So when you want to hire you as a course instructor, you must be really, really good at what you want to teach, but also good in Kinyarwanda. so that you don't just come and speak Kinyarwanda. You should be speaking Kinyarwanda, but also giving people something to learn. So we are moving across African languages. So after probably a year or something, we'll go to Swahili, come to Chi. The platform will have all of African languages at some point in time. So that is what basically we are doing. Yeah, so of course, this is how we do it. First of all, course instructors have to prepare their courses. And then after preparation, we have a studio. They come to our studio, we record the courses, and then we have people in charge, professors, who review the quality of the courses, because you can't just let somebody bring the course and then post it on the platform. It has to be verified. And then after that, we have a studio, they prepare the course, and then we publish them online for the student to be, to learn the course. Yeah, so that is what I just said, that we collaborate with local educators, and then we also make sure that the content is really, really localized. We don't want the student to be learning in Kinyarwanda, but using an example that is coming from China, for example. We want you to learn in Kinyarwanda, but also with a Rwandan context. So if you come to Ghana, if you are talking about business, we will use Ghanaian businesses, we will use Ghanaian context, we will use Ghanaian food is about food, so that it's very easy for them to understand. So we believe that you can learn anything as long as you understand the language. Yes, so we have a mobile-friendly platform, and also you can get downloadable materials on the platform, because as you know, it's really hard to even share hard copies. But when something is online, people can easily access it and share it. So the platform is really accessible. Actually, if you have internet right now, you can look for it. It's kingra.com. You can find it online. So what we've learned from our project, actually, is that culturally relevant content improves comprehension. Interactive digital tools increases engagement, of course, because nowadays it's not only about Gen Zs, everybody's on internet, scrolling, so people still like to read, but if we can actually give it to them in a visual content, it's even better. And then also collaborating with local educators is a key. I remember I was once in a conference, and then somebody was mentioning why it is so hard for AI to understand African languages. And one of the key things that was highlighted, it was because these people, they want to train AI models, but without coming to Africa and work with local owners of the language. So it also goes with educational content, actually. So working with local instructors is really, really important, because they actually understand their community better and also understand the language. Yeah, so like I said, native language is equal to empowerment, understanding, and confidence. Learners excel without relying on colonial languages validation. Yes, so African languages improve comprehension, retention, engagement, and confidence. Kingra.com demonstrates a scalable native language education. Collaboration with local educators is a key. So that is the website. If you go there, you will find our courses. So if you have probably a suggestion of how we can improve it, we are also, here for any comments. Yeah, so as I conclude, thank you so much. And actually appreciate African Language Conference for allowing us to come and, talk to our fellow Africans about how we can actually improve the lives of Africans. Because I believe that English is also it's not even a belief, it's a fact. English is a local language from somewhere else, just like our language. So there is no language that is higher than any other. So it's only a belief that we have in our mindset as Africans, and just like any other person from another country, we simply have to embrace our languages, because a language is just a tool, and it doesn't have to do with any smartness, just like the previous presenters mentioned it. Thank you so much.
Asante. Thank you so very much, Miriam. That was very, very informative. Now, anyone that has questions for Miriam or any, yes, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me give you the mic. I'm coming your way.
Thank you very much. I'm Ibrahim, and I also teach Asantiki. Recently, I did a work on how to digitalize our indigenous content, because now in Ghana education, we are transforming from the ordinary traditional classroom setting to a chatbot, whereby we use computer to learn, because the previous government even shared computers to teachers to teach, and they gave some tablet to students to learn. So meaning we are getting to the use of the AI in our various schools. And as a Ghanaian language teacher, it is also my concern that we need to also follow suit. If not, the traditional way will fade up from the system. When I was embarking on my research, I met a professor from Netherlands. And then he told me that the next 1,000 years, he's prophesizing that there will be only one language in the world, to him, which is English. And he's Dutch. So he thought one day the Dutch will die. So I asked myself, then what about my Ewe, Chi, Ga? Now we think that Dutch is one of the languages at the highest level. So if it will die, what about my Ghanaian languages? So that is where I started thinking of doing something. So I came by, I wrote a paper planning how to digital our local contents in 2 ways, so that we can use to teach our children in the school. Secondly, to reserve our culture. In the language I teach, there are some words in Asantiki. Now, if you ask a young student, he doesn't know. Most importantly, when you say epono, many people mind will go to the door, but epon means table. So that is where some of the words are gradually dying off. And you know how how strong it is in Ghana here. And if you are losing some of our words, that means it is a call of an action. And it all talks about the attitude and the socio-cultural challenges. So this is where we need to build a robust system. There are some systems already existing, teaching Ghanaian languages. We have Kasahoro, meaning different language. It's a platform. We have Aya Prep. It's a system whereby you used to learn mathematics in your own language. So that is how far we have got about. And I got to University of Ghana Library, and they have more than 1,000 plus folk tales, of which we can reduce all into our system. You know, students, we learn more on phones and laptops. So when we transform all the paperwork into our technology, I think it will make a good way for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, too.
Thank you so very much for your comments. Any other person that would like to say something out of this presentation? Yes. Yes.
Okay. Sure.
I don't know if it, maybe I will have to take your contact, but I will go to the platform to look at what you talk about. It will be very useful to escalate this to include more African languages from different parts of Africa, so that our children can learn whatever, especially those technical courses, using their native languages. So we'll go to the platform to look at it, and then we'll take your contact so that we'll see how we can help in adding more African languages to your platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Pascal. So if there isn't any other question or opinion, well, I can now let you go and just say thank you for it.
Thank you, too.
Yes. Let us now clap for her. Yes. Okay, so before I wrap up, this is the last presentation for the day. We finished in good time, meaning you can have time to network, time to go and question Dr. Naledi and Siwapiwe. Go and, you know, these guys won't rest, but that's good. Otherwise, I would like to call Adi. She has a few announcements that are very important. Karibu.
Thank you very much. Actually, Kiswahili is one language I want to learn. I think we all have New Year's resolutions, and one of my New Year resolutions was that by the end of this year, I should be a fluent Kiswahili speaker. So I think I'll be in touch. All right, so I want to say a big thank you to everyone for participating in the conference. I also checked the online participants, and I realized they were very engaging. They had lots of conversations online as well on Zoom. I would like to give a special shout out to Mr. Charles Tiayon. He was actually the reason and the inspiration behind me, developing love for African languages. So I want to say a big thank you to him for joining us online. We thank all the speakers and delegates. We have people joining us from outside Ghana, the US, South Africa, Ethiopia, Tanzania, and so on and so forth. I would also like to thank students from the Advanced School of Translators and Interpreters, ASTI, in Boya, Cameroon, who are supporting us with French-English interpretation online on Zoom. Their support has really been great so far, and I commend them for the hard work they're doing online. We also want to thank our sponsors, African Translation and African Language Consultants, and Silicon and Stanford University for the support. And I also want to reiterate that this conference is being held online and on site. So the on-site edition is 2 days here, and then we also have the full online edition for 3 days from Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So 26th, 27th, and 28th of February. And I invite you all to join us online. The link is still available. You can click register to join us online for the other 3 days. Tomorrow, for those online, we'll be sharing another link. So for each day, we have just one Zoom link for the entire day. So we'll be sharing the link with online attendees on Zoom for tomorrow's session. So that's it for me. Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you so much. She has said it. That is also all from me. Have a good evening. I hope we can now talk and have fun. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bring a friend, right? Kwaherini. Oh, in Swahili say kwaheri. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Good afternoon or good evening. My name is Mr. Uro Salim Mohamed, graduate in International Cooperation at Genoa University in Italy. And I'm a researcher on campus Legon for a long time. Sorry that I'm late because I was busy with a UPS student about country matter. I must be here since this morning. I'm sorry. When I saw the writing, African Language Conference, I asked myself, what means African Language Conference? I want to know more about. I want to tell you that maybe, I don't know, because African language is not only our local language, it's also European language in Africa now, even out of Africa. If you say African traditional language, we can understand each other well. So I don't know what you want to talk about, African Language Conference, including French, Spanish, English, what, I don't know. I think that this question I want to ask. Mr. Uru Salim Mohamed, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so thank you for the question. So maybe you want us to say African indigenous languages. I think sometimes, some people in Africa say that French is an African language. I've heard that thing being said before. So maybe that's what you want us to clarify. So we're talking about indigenous languages spoken in Africa. So we are not referring to the European languages. So thank you for the question. Thank you everyone for coming, and let's stay around, network, engage, and chat. Tomorrow's session will begin at 9 a.m. GMT. So we're looking forward to having you all here. Thank you.
Kwaherini. Kwaheri is one person. If you're many, I say kwaherini. Okay? Kwaherini wote. Goodbye to all. I'll see you tomorrow. The first person that gets here will get some cashew nut from Tanzania. Okay? So kanali. Asante sana na wewe. Karibuni. I'll see you.